Alright, welcome to episode 5 of Now You're Playing With Podcast, another Guerrilla episode, in the car, 9 o'clock at night, heading home from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in Pinburgh 2012. With me is Cory, who's been on previous episodes, and other Chris, our pinball expert for the day.
Hello, Chris.
It's all relative. He's gonna humble brag, but he's the pinball expert today.
I am Chris Pod. I know all about pinball.
Awesome. So, story of the day. I've never been to... Okay, well, here's the... PAPA is the Professional and Amateur Pinball Association. It's based out of Pittsburgh. They've got a big warehouse. They've got 300, 400 some machines in there. They hold the World Championships. Oh, my daughter's here too. They hold the World Championships, and then in the spring they've got the Pinburgh competition. And these are the only 2 times that their warehouse is open, and anybody's not participating, they can play on the other machines for just, tokens. They're all for free play. Or not free play, but for play. No, sorry, sweetie. So we made the drive from Columbus to play some pinball, basically.
Yep. Not a bad drive either.
Not a bad drive. Made some stops. Made it a leisurely drive. Brought my daughter. She played more pinball than I did, actually.
And she outscored most of us.
Yeah,
Let's
I think
just
so.
play that
Her
one straight
strategy
out.
of just hitting the buttons.
Yeah.
Works really, really well.
Yeah. And she, she's got a rhythm to it too. It's like smack, 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 and surprisingly enough, that works. So.
Do you like playing pinball, sweetie? Yeah. I just want to play with my iPad.
Yeah. So
Let's start. So what was your favorite machine of the day?
Oh man, back to this already.
Yeah.
Well, my favorite machine of the day is my favorite machine, which is Twilight Zone. Even though I did absolutely terrible on it, it's still my favorite machine. I am terrible at pinball, but that holds a lot of nostalgia for me, and it's a really good table.
There were a lot of tables that I thought I was really going to enjoy, and I didn't, and a lot that I didn't expect to enjoy, and I did. Black Knight 2000 was really good. I didn't have a whole lot of high hopes for that one. And I really enjoyed Jackpot, even though I am horrible at it. I sucked something fierce at it just all day long, and that was really enjoyable. The Tron table was also quite good. It was based around
Tron?
it was based around the new Tron movie. It was a Stern machine, and it was really well done. I was very impressed by it.
Yeah, they got a Tron at one of the VGMXs in town.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know which one, whether it's on Summit or the Hard Road one or the one on Schrock. I think. See, I played so many, but I didn't have a single good game all day.
I don't think any of us
kind of
really
wrangling
did,
my 3-year-old around. I kind of was turning my head, making sure she wasn't busting anything. And the thing is, she's so well behaved, she wouldn't do that sort of thing. But I'm more worried about being one of those parents that other people look at as why aren't you controlling your kid? So I'm more paranoid about that than my own kid actually doing something bad. I got to play Addams Family again, which is always a personal favorite. It's a doob answer. Everybody, that's the best-selling pinball machine of all time.
But it's a great machine.
Yeah, it's a great machine.
There's a reason why it's sold that
I'll take 470 West, by the way.
Yeah. I got my, that's probably my best game. I didn't
you can stick on 70
getting a new
and
game.
still get there.
We'll take the other route this time.
Yeah.
Let's see.
It says Columbus.
Yeah, it does.
I got to play. I think. Oh yeah. Bride of Pinbot. Yeah, that was the one I was most impressed with. I never got to play that one before.
Yeah,
that's definitely worthy of Pinbot name.
Yeah,
that's a cool machine, and it's soon to be on Pinball Arcade.
Yeah.
So,
Bride of Pinbot is one of those really interesting games where it was right during that transition from old style. You only have 2 real skill shots to hit at any given time, as pinball progressed into having just a metric shit ton of ramps and all sorts of other stuff going on at the same time. So you've only really got 2 target ramps to hit at any given moment in that game, but there are a ton of things that you can potentially do in the game.
Yeah, those ramps are pretty freaking hard. You had to have a lot of power in your shot to get up the ramps too.
Yeah, and a lot of them are built to drain the ball. So, you hit something and it's supposed to accelerate the ball and accelerate it at a point where it's ridiculously hard to save. So
but I have to say I like the bride of Pinbot's face that flips around to a different face after you hit the target inside.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah, the progression in that game is really cool, and it's a shame that the sound was turned down so low on all the machines, because the bride of Pinbot actually talks. Pinbot actually talks, and there's kind of like this banter between the two, and you can eventually turn the bride of Pinbot into a human. There's like the metamorphosis phase that gets you like 1,000,000 points or something like that. It's almost like your own personal jackpot outside of a multi-ball jackpot phase. And it's just this really cool situation. All the music changes. She's laughing and having a good time and yelling at you to do better. And it's one of those games that really pushes you to progress that target.
Right. I have to say, speaking of the Pinbot trilogy, I guess, the Jackbot, I had never played one before, and it kind of seemed, basically, I guess it's a conversion of Pinbot.
Yeah, I think it was either a conversion kit, or maybe they just had a lot of Pinbot machines laying around, because a lot of the same features from the original Pinbot are in Jackbot, which is the third in the series of Pinbot machines.
It's kind of like a silly take on it.
Yeah.
Because, a good score in Pinbot's only in the millions, whereas a good score in Jackbot was in the hundreds of millions.
Right, and the difference, just not only in the playfield and scoring, but the Jackbot machine has one of the dot matrix LCDs in the back, and all sorts of stuff is going on there, whereas the original only had like a couple lines of, I forget what those are called, but the ability for the game to give you feedback is much greater in Jackbot.
Well, there's a lot more modes in Jackpot too. There's all sorts of those weird like gambling modes you can do with like Keno and poker and blackjack. And
the big thing about Jackpot is that, and this didn't happen to me while I was playing today, and it really should have, and I don't think anyone that played it actually got to do this, but whenever you score one of the gambling modes, you can do a double or nothing and make a skill shot within 10 seconds. So you take your bonus and then double it, or you get no bonus at all. So there's that big gambling thing inside of there as well, and that really helps up your score. If you get a gigantic bonus, you're sitting there going, man, do I want that 600, 1,000, or do I want to double that? Do I take the safe route, or do I go balls out for the skill shot that isn't tremendously difficult? You can hit it from either flipper, but you are on a 10-second timer.
Yeah. Sometimes shit just likes to hit the bumpers and fuck you. So.
Yeah, exactly. And the kick out from normally where you get that double or nothing throws it to the flipper where you have to backhand it into the skill shot. So you either have to manage to get the ball over to the other flipper, or do a backhand off the flipper that is really, really difficult.
It's impressive talking, all this knowledge, and yet the skill isn't.
The skill is not there.
It's all that Neo knowing the path versus walking the path.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's the sad thing. And I think we talked about this either going up or maybe coming back a little bit earlier. Was Cory and I have not necessarily trained, but we kind of studied a little bit. We watched some of the tutorials that Papa's put out there,
which are great.
Yeah, which are fantastic.
People should subscribe to that guy's. I think it's CGR Pinball, or if you just look up Papa Pinball tutorials
on YouTube.
Yeah, on YouTube. That guy has just some really spectacular videos that are well filmed. Like if you put that in full screen, you can see the whole field. He is very descriptive and very amazing. amazing.
I think Vimeo is better because they'll allow for vertical oriented videos, so you get a bigger screen.
Oh, really?
Whereas YouTube is only horizontal.
Huh.
Yeah, the nice thing about the YouTube videos is that they mount multiple cameras. They show one camera of the overhead playfield, one from down below the flippers.
On a couple of them, yeah, they do.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And it looks really nice.
And then they have one with the board.
Yeah.
Like with the LCD screen. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool. And the guy is really... I mean, it's one of those things, he's like, I'm going to teach you how to get a good score on this. And it's like, yeah, but that's not going to teach me how to know how to hit this fucking ball.
Right.
So it's like, I can know how to play Twilight Zone. That does not mean that I can actually get a good score in Twilight Zone.
Yeah, you know the shots that you have to hit, but
Yeah.
being able to control the pinball machine is a completely different nuance that watching YouTube videos and watching, walkthroughs and reading about, like, the different strategies, there's just nothing that can save you there.
Yeah.
When you're actually playing a pinball machine, it's completely different. There's no way to emulate that in a video game or an emulator or anything else like that. When you actually are, when you've got your fingers on the flipper buttons and you're able to throw the machine around to influence the ball, that's just a world apart of what we can currently do with, home systems.
Sure.
Let's just step back a little bit before we talk about specifics and talk about the overall experience. Like I said, they got several hundred machines in there. They had some arcade games in there. All the ones not available for tournament play or available for token play. We walked right up, bought $10-$20 in tokens at the door. You can buy them with a credit card even.
Which was a benefit.
Sure. Yeah. The overall experience, you had an issue where a ball got stuck up between the glass and the corner of the machine, and a tech came up and unlocked it, pulled the glass down, put the ball back in the slot for you, and pulled out some tokens and gave you a few tokens for your trouble.
Yeah. I mean, the staff there they were phenomenal all the way around. It's a really well done event.
Yeah.
I mean, they're only open twice a year. If you're anywhere within driving distance, definitely go.
And the facility is very nice.
Yeah, nice big warehouse, lots of space. It wasn't crowded like I was in Milwaukee last weekend.
Yeah. It definitely felt like there was plenty of room to play. People weren't dicks, which is always a bonus. At least I didn't notice it. I don't know how the competition is if you're going to compete, which they welcome even if you suck at pinball to compete, which makes me think that most people aren't dicks.
Which is another cool setup they've got. They've got LCD screens over the tournament machines where you can see what's going on in the play field, and they're hanging from the ceiling so you can look at the screen. Even from the bleachers that they got set up, you can see what's going on.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool setup they got.
And they look beautiful. It looks better. Looking at those screens, it looks better than it would look looking at the playfield from around somebody's shoulder or something. So,
one of the nice benefits of that is that they record a lot of the semifinals, the quarterfinals, and the finals, and post them up online. So even if you were there and didn't wait around like we did to see the professionals play, or maybe you just want to see a replay or figure out maybe a new strategy for one of the featured games, you can pull it up on YouTube or Vimeo and watch it again.
yeah.
And they add commentary as well, which, usually it's the same guy that does the tutorials along with one of the other, I don't want to say Grandmaster, but Grandmasters really. I mean, they don't get no names in there for the commentary. And they make really, really good comments about what's going on and why it's happening and why they're doing what they're doing. If they're doing a soft shot, if they're aiming for a particular drop target, if they're trying to do something crazy, they explain why that's happening and why it's a valid or invalid strategy.
Awesome experience. We totally recommend going there.
Yeah. I had a great time.
So, the one disappointing little thing, I guess, is that a lot of the machines were turned off or for tournament play only. And you can't. They gotta keep the tournament machines tip-top shape, obviously.
Yeah.
Then they got to worry about the rest of the machines. If they're in disorder or disrepair, they're not going to let them get into further disrepair by leaving them turned on.
Yeah.
But, a fair amount of the vintage machines, 60s machines were turned off. A few of the ones I wanted to play, like Gorgar, were turned off, and that's just, my issue. That's not...
Sure. And, I mean, there were a lot of issues with machines becoming broken throughout the day, or when we got there, like I said, like, the first thing I wanted to beeline towards was Twilight Zone.
Right.
However, there were 4 Twilight Zone machines, and 2 of them on. Chris and I played on one, and it felt a little weird, and then within another hour, that machine was closed. So 4 Twilight Zone machines, 1 working. Adam's Family was running more solidly, but there were a lot of machines that were just... They had enough of them for people to play, but it was hard to get on them because some of them were turned off or being used in the tournament, which is awesome. Like, I don't think that they should change that. However, it was disappointing to... Not Black Hole was down and Gorgar were down.
And anybody can join a tournament. It's like $10 to play through 5 machines.
Sure, and then, I mean, that's totally reasonable.
Totally reasonable. The money goes toward the prize money, and what doesn't get to use the prize money is for charity. So
yeah, and I mean, even if we were just going there, if we were not just going there for the day and we were going to stay there, there's no reason not to do the tournaments.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no reason not to, because even if you suck, you get to play, like Pittsburgh, from the way I understand the way they do it, the first day is all qualifier for what, where you're going to be, like which category or rank you're going to be competing in. So you can't even be eliminated the first day. And the second day is all playing, and that's the first day that you can get eliminated, but you have the whole day before you get eliminated. So if you're playing in a tournament, you're getting at least 2 full days of playing pinball before you could be eliminated from the tournament. And even then, you have the same machines that we were playing on to play on for the rest of the day. So, it's not even a point that I can really complain about some of those machines not being for tournament or not being for free play, because
it's a very impressive warehouse. I think they have Wi-Fi there. I saw a lot of laptops.
They did not. Well, at least that I knew of. I didn't see it. So they had computers set up though, so if you wanted to check the rankings, you could. So they had little stations with
I saw that.
4 computers at them. So if you wanted to check where you were at in the standings, you could.
And they had a Star Castle arcade machine, which was awesome. that game kicked my ass.
Yeah, they had. They also have. They had 2 Tattoo Assassins machines. Which,
now, what is this game? You keep talking about it.
It was a game that was never released, so it's a Mortal Kombat clone that is absolute total garbage.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, the game was never released. The developers are quoted as saying, like, they got to a point in the development where they were like, we cannot make this game good. There is no way to save it. That, like, people were trying to get themselves fired so that they wouldn't have to work on the game anymore because it was that bad. However, it's so bad that it's hilarious. They have the game's selling point for itself is that it has over 2,000 fatalities in it.
Right.
And they range from being as stupid as just kicking somebody's head off to as stupid as shitting roast turkey out of your ass on plates and hitting the person until they're dead, or turning the person into a really shittily drawn, like, dinosaur or something. It's one of those things. It's like, it's so bad and it's notoriously bad.
Right. I never even heard of that.
Yeah, and it's amazing that they have arcade machines for it, considering it was never released.
Right. I mean, that sounds more like something that'd be like floating around in ROM form, right?
Yeah.
Were they like actually produced, or did somebody homebrew it with a ROM?
I'm not sure. The cabinets looked really great.
Yeah, the cabinets, I believe they made it to prototype and I believe field testing, but I don't believe that they actually got out to a level where it was mass-produced.
Yeah.
So they are extremely rare. The ROM is out there, so it's not, like, horribly difficult to play.
Yeah, you can download the main ROM pretty easily, I'm sure.
Yeah,
so.
now I know. Now I need to play Death Race, too. That's the other
Death Race.
Well, the other funny thing is, like, it came out around the same time, or attempted to come out around the same time that, like, Bloodstorm and Time Killers came out and stuff like that, which were also over-the-top games that were just like, look, Mortal Kombat knocks off people's heads. We're going to knock off their head 5 times, and you can air juggle it for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, so it's that same sort of situation. Which, you know, at the time was a really cool thing. It made arcades a little bit edgier.
Yeah.
As edgy as you can make an arcade.
Yeah. But, I mean, they also had some cool arcade machines there, too, other than just...
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Tattoo Assassins was off. There were a lot of things that were off, and I'm not sure if they were off because of repairs or off because they just wanted them off for some reason. I'm not entirely sure. I didn't ask anybody. I did not interact with the staff very much, but, I mean, they had, you know, a Robotron machine.
It was like a multi-Williams machine, actually.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I saw they had a multi-Namco machine on there, too.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
They had, what else did I see? I mean, they had Mr. Dew.
It was Mr. Dew's Castle.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not Mr. Dew.
Not Mr. Dew. Mr. Dew's Castle.
They had a Super Pac-Man out of Pac-Man.
Oh, yeah, that was
the Super I've never seen a Super Pac-Man.
And I hate Super Pac-Man. I try to like it. I want to like it. I like Pac-Man. I cannot stand Super Pac-Man.
Yeah, I saw a Discs of Tron.
Yeah,
in
they
the
did
corner.
have a Discs of Tron.
That's another rarity.
That broke my heart. It was one of the cabinets that you actually get in, and it has, like, the curtain.
Yeah.
And it completely blocks you out from everything else, and it's just you and poorly rendered voices going, "Welcome to Discs of Tron." And you're like, hell yeah. I'm going to throw some discs at some faces. It's going to be great.
Yeah. Yeah, so the machines, I mean, they're definitely way more focused on pinball, but, you know, I think there was a fairly large ratio of pinball to arcade games, so...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to go there and get a full arcade experience. It's a pinball experience. So.
Yeah, and,
absolutely.
You know, having the machines being down, I completely understand, and I think just about anyone who has played pinball or has looked into pinball machines before understands that, because they are extremely difficult to maintain. You know, one of the things we were talking about earlier is that, you know, it's hard to source parts, and the parts that you can source are just
expensive,
stupidly expensive. And for a place that is donating so much to charity and, you know, is really just trying to cover their costs, that's really a difficult thing to do, to maintain 200 plus arcade or pinball machines at the same time.
Oh yeah, it's nuts. I mean, it makes me sad because I just wanted to have more options.
Oh,
sure. You know what I mean? Or there were a few machines that it's sad when it's a machine that's really rare and you're going to have a hard time ever playing it again.
Yeah.
And it's sitting right there, but you can't play it. You know what I mean? And you're like, oh man, I wish I could help you make this work so I could play it.
Yeah.
So, but you know, at that there was never really crowding around too many of the machines. Other than like AC/DC seemed to be crowded.
Yeah, and they only had 2 of those, and they were both not Papa's. They were brought in from probably Stern or a reseller.
Yeah,
they didn't take the tokens.
Yeah,
or
at least the one in the back didn't take the tokens. I don't know.
The front didn't either.
No, it didn't.
But it seemed pretty good. I mean, the interesting thing is now that they're using LED lights inside, it's even brighter.
Yeah.
It's very bright.
Yeah, it looked nice. I mean, I'm not like the biggest AC/DC fan in the world.
No, but if any band deserves a pinball machine, it's AC/DC. I mean, that's a nice lineage along with Kiss and Elvis.
Yeah, which they had Kiss pinball there too. So
I was impressed with the Ali machine. That looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
Sort of 70s.
Yep.
And I got to see another Evel Knievel.
Yeah.
$6 Million Man. That's what I saw.
Yeah, $6 Million Man. Yeah, there were a couple of things that I was disappointed were only in the tournament area that I wish I had the time to go there and play in the tournament to play. Like, Tales from the Crypt was there, Space Invaders.
What was that, like, ridiculously metal one?
I took a picture of it. I don't know. Centaur.
Yes.
Centaur.
Did we... What was that?
Metal as fuck.
What was that game we were talking about? Orbital?
Oh, yeah. I did not see Orbiter 1.
Orbiter 1? It wasn't there?
I didn't see it, but that doesn't mean...
I saw a CGR video about it, but maybe it wasn't. It was in repair or something.
Yeah. I mean, it could be. I saw them wheeling some around, too, while we were there, and I'm sure they move... I'm sure that's not all they have.
Yeah,
Oh, God, no.
I saw...
They have a whole graveyard. Apparently, this building was flooded about 5 years ago. They're right by a river, and they lost all their machines. They've got like a graveyard where they pull extra parts and stuff for from all these dead machines. And
Yeah.
kind of heartbreaking to see the pictures on their website.
Yeah, for sure. That's a sad thing.
But I gotta say that I'm more excited to go in August. I don't think I'm gonna compete though because I realize how bad I am.
Well, but that's the thing. It doesn't matter. Like,
Right.
Yeah,
it'll be like if you compete, you're paying $10 extra, but you get to play on all of the machines, really.
Right, but I don't know if I'm gonna stay out there for an entire weekend again, or I don't know yet.
I don't know. I would like to stay out there for a weekend. If it's during the summer, it's quite a possibility for me to be able to.
I wonder what the weather's like when it's freaking hot. I wonder if they got good air conditioning.
It didn't feel bad in there at all to me.
It was cold today.
Yeah, I mean that's true, but
I got to say it's nice and comfortable, nice good carpeting everywhere.
yeah, for sure.
For a concrete floor warehouse.
Yeah.
I mean, it felt fine in there. I would say my only complaint about the facilities was they could use another bathroom or a bigger bathroom.
Right.
Because there were at least 250 people competing.
Right.
That's not just the number of people that were there dicking around like us. So
Lots of families too. It was
sure.
nice to see that.
It did not seem like anybody was shitty about kids being there or anything like that. So that was good. Saw a lot of younger kids playing, which was also cool.
Lots of chairs for kids to stand on while they're playing.
Yep.
Whenever my daughter wanted to play a game, just pulled up a chair and she could barely get her hands around each side to hit the flippers, and it worked out really well.
Yeah. And she seemed to have a good time.
And masseuses. I don't know if they didn't have any finishers though.
Make you play better.
Make it play better if you get a happy ending.
Yep. I think that probably helped. So, but yeah, they had masseuses, which was strange but awesome at the same time.
Do you think that the lack of sound maybe affected your concentration? Maybe that's part of why you didn't do so well?
I am really used to hearing the audio cues from a lot of things, like especially when you think about some of those machines, there are sounds that tell you that the ball is getting ready to come out. And that's especially different for me with like Twilight Zone. I almost remember the sounds better than I remember the playfield for Twilight Zone.
Right.
I know the sound of the ball going up into the skill shot or missing the skill shot and coming and getting ready to pop out. So that did throw me off a little bit because there's a timing issue with that. Like, I know when the ball's going to pop out of there. I know when to hit my flipper to like catch it or knock it.
I was kind of surprised walking in. I thought I was going to hear really loud arcade sound.
Yeah.
And it was surprisingly quiet.
Yeah.
There was an article I read about how, during the finals, it's almost like a golf or a tennis match where it's very, very quiet.
Yeah.
And you don't hear applause or revving up or energy. It's a tense energy instead of a raucous energy like you would in, say, like a fighting game tournament.
Yeah.
And that's kind of surprising. I really thought that when I went to the Pinball Hall of Fame a couple years ago, it was very loud.
Really?
Yeah, it was. But we went at nighttime and like the lights were off. It was just I have to say that was almost a little more authentic of an experience, but I still.
Sure. Well, I think they're trying to.
Building.
Yeah, they're trying to create an atmosphere for competition.
Right. It's supposed to be more of a sport.
Yeah. Which I mean, those games take. I mean, there's a lot of randomness to those things to pinball, but there is also a lot of skill involved, and those guys that are good at it are really effing.
Yeah, and they know how to account for the randomness and kind of bounce the ball around and whatnot. I mean, when you watch someone play, it looks ridiculously easy, but you don't realize that there is a lot of finesse involved in, throwing the machine around and not tilting.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I had a really big problem with.
I'm just always afraid I'm going to break something.
Yeah.
Me too. That shit's so expensive, and I just don't have that mentality that it's okay to knock that stuff around.
Yeah.
I tried to be better about it, and let myself hit them a little bit. I mean, not hit them, but move them a little bit. But their legs are so tiny. I don't know. I don't want to be held responsible for some $10,000 rare ass pinball machine because I wanted to make sure the ball didn't go out down the out lanes and drain. But
I mean, there's one thing about giving a nice hearty slap on the side after your ball drains after not even hitting it, but there's another of giving it a firm jostle and trying not to.
Guys.
Oh, I'll give you
and then looping it up and wait.
Wait.
Yeah. No, but not to like throw it on its side or something like that.
Not that you could.
No.
No,
Well, there were a few where I gave it a toss and it was like, oh, that is
that
really
is scary.
Yeah.
Especially the ones with real tall back, like the
they're
back
top
display.
heavy.
Oh my god, that one motocross one I played that I like randomly ended up remembering I had played it when I was younger. That game, like I nudged it a couple of times and I was like, oh god, that thing seems like the entire thing could just fall off if I pushed it too hard.
Yeah. And there were others where I really, really tried to move it and it was just not going.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, they were just solid pieces of machinery that are like, yep,
Yep.
the ball is going to go down the aisle. I really don't care what you have to say about that. I'm also going to make you look funny in front of everyone as your face gets red as you're trying to push me with your wrist as the fulcrum in this whole mechanical situation.
Yeah.
I'm going to win.
Did either of you guys try any of the electromechanical machines?
Yeah, I tried a couple of the old ones, and they have a really interesting feel to them. The funny thing is, they had that whole row in the back.
Yeah.
Were all the old, like, 60s era pinball machines that were all wooden. And there was a particular smell back there, like, not like a bad smell, like you normally would associate with a con of some kind, and it had, like, nerds that were like, soap is optional.
Yeah,
No, I mean,
pinball was not a nerdy game back then.
No.
That was cigarettes and bad news, and that's where those kids hung out back in the day.
Yeah. No, but there was a particular feel to those games that you really don't get with some of the newer ones, even the ones from the late 70s, early 80s, during that transition period. They're just different, and it's really hard to describe the differences because they sound different, the ball feels different. The flippers
are nubby.
Yeah, the flippers are nubby and handle 100% differently. Sometimes you'll hit the flippers and you'll get all the power you need. The next time, it's like the weakest shot that you could ever hit, and you're like, oh god, it's going down the center lane.
The plunge is almost as important as the flipper play still. Like like originally before flippers, it was all about the plunger. And getting it just right, and then the drain would just eventually happen.
Yeah, I played one of them, and I got to hit one of my 3 balls with the flipper, and I was done. I was like, yep, that's not fun for me. So, they're cool. I appreciate them for what they led to, but I really like the more complicated stuff. Not that those aren't complicated in their own right, I guess, but I like the ones with lots of flashy lights that make noises.
Yeah, and, the skill shots are more complex in the newer ones. And they're more interesting shots. You have ramps, you have loops, you have orbitals that are just really, really fun and, ramps up not only the difficulty but the velocity of the ball, and you can hit other ramps really quick.
So you like the N64 era of pinball machines?
I like the good era of pinball machines.
Gotta knock the N64 every episode.
Well, yeah, I don't think there's a way not to. So, but you keep bringing it up. It's like you have a sick fascination with it. So
no, it's my running joke. Let's see. I'm surprised I didn't see a Pinball 2000 machine. Did they have any, or just put?
I saw one.
Did you see? What was it? Revenge? What was that? The Mars machine?
There was Revenge from Mars, but it was in the competition area.
Okay, and then there's like Star Wars and one other one.
Yeah, I think I saw the Star Wars one. It was turned off. Thankfully, I hate that one with a burning passion.
So what made it worse? The fact that it was a Phantom Menace machine, or
yes. Because you're playing a pinball machine, which is already, in some rights, infuriating because it wants you to lose. It is built for you to lose. It is like playing Ninja Gaiden, but Ninja Gaiden with, like, double sadism on.
Kind of on that point, got to go off a tangent. A lot of competitors were pretty pissed off when I was walking by. Lots of fucking kicking and slamming shit.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, you're either playing or you're pissed off.
Happy faces in the competition.
No, you're either playing or you're pissed off.
Right.
That's one of the two. But
it didn't even really.
And I think those guys would destroy us in any game at any particular point.
I mean, their ball 1 skill shot is our ball 3 final score.
Yeah. Yep.
And they're like, man, I suck at this game. I'm horrible.
They're all self-depreciating
Yeah.
for the most part, or super cocky. But I mean, that's just from what I've seen in the that documentary. But in all honesty, that's something that they take really seriously. And when you take something really, really seriously, you do get really angry about it when you don't do as good as you really
I guess
do.
it's like a failure game. I guess sports-wise, it's most similar to baseball, where the end of the game is not a clock. The end of the game is when you fail, when you are reported out 27 times.
Yeah, pinball is a game of inevitability. It's just a matter of doing the best you can until the inevitable occurs.
Yeah.
Like normal arcade games, for the most part, have an ending. You can beat the game, and you can say, I beat that game, I won. And pinball is like, oh, you finished the main jackpot, and you turned Bride of Pinball into a real girl. You still lost, and you suck. Ha! I still win. And you're always left with that, oh, I'm going to get you next time.
Well, and there's a level, too, like, I almost, I only got to play Tales of the Arabian Nights once, but, with 2 games, but, that game I have beaten, air quotes, beaten that game before, and there is once you beat, like, the air quotes story that is involved in them, there's kind of a letdown after that, too. Like, you get all the points, you get the shit ton of points for, like, in Tales of Arabian Nights is saving the princess, you, like, clear all the different, you get all the jewels for the sword, and you fight the genie, and you kill all of his little skeletons, and then, you save the princess, and she's like, oh, thank you, and hugs you.
Then you discover oil.
But then the game, it's just like, continue playing, player 1, and you're like, okay, I'm back at the beginning. And it's like, how many times you do that before it's boring, or like, there's like, you just had this really crazy, like, climactic multi-ball session, where there's all this noise and all these lights going on, and then it's just back down. So there's not a whole lot of reward for very long either in the way that goes. So even if you beat it in that sense,
yeah, it's very much like some of the top-down jumps, like Guerrilla or something like that, where you can beat the game. It is entirely humanly possible to do so with enough practice. Once you beat the game, you are let down. Your new challenge is to beat the game better.
Yeah.
And, can you do it one-handed? Can you do it blindfolded?
Yeah.
Can you play 2-player with 2 hands and beat the game? And people have done that because they are insane.
I was about to ask you about that. How much are you into video games?
Cory?
No, I know what Cory is. Our pinball person here.
Yeah. I'm very much into video games. I like video games quite a bit. I've played since the ColecoVision. I fondly remember Time Pilot as being the first game I ever played. And I play quite a bit of computer games as well. So
we had a conversation at the restaurant about new consoles and the possibility that they're not going to allow used games, but we won't get into that. But just thought, did your pinball obsession start recently, or have you always? Has it been kind of a concurrent thing? They were both in the arcade.
Yeah, it really started in the arcade back home. There was always like 2 or 3 pinball machines in a very small arcade, so it was like, you put your quarter up on Tekken or something like that, and then you go play Jurassic Park or whatever they had at the time, and it was usually some machine over in the corner that was decrepit, and they never looked at it, but it was still pinball, and it was something to do while you waited your turn to get smashed by a dude playing Eddie Gordo and just bashing his face against the kick buttons.
How old are you?
God.
You have to think about it?
I do. Like I said in the restaurant, man, like someone says, oh yeah, that was 10 years ago. I'm like, 1990. And they're like, no, 2002. I'm like, I'm old.
What year were you born?
81.
Okay. Yeah, so you're 30, like me, or 31.
So you weren't really cognizant of the golden age of the arcade.
No, it was just, it was taken for granted, really, because it was always, my parents had to go to the mall for something. I'm going to wander down to the arcade and get away from them. Hey, look, here's some new, Sega Rally. What's this?
That was kind of that 90s era was kind of the renaissance of pinball. I mean, because it was huge in the 70s. It kind of fell down a bit in the 80s when arcades were really hot, but they were always there. There was always a place for pinball machines.
Yeah.
And then the 90s, you know, you got that rush, that last flurry of, you know, your Addams Families, your other hits of that era. And then, poof, nobody's left except Stern.
Yeah.
And then now you got the collectors that are keeping the hobby alive. And
thank God for them. I wish I could be one of them, but I don't have a house or money. So.
No, but it's kind of weird that how that kind of ended up. But now it seems to be its last resurgence, I guess. This is it. I mean, this last era before they're gone for good.
I don't know. I hope they don't end up going for good. I wish that. Now, okay, so here's a question. And you asked Chris about his. Like, what was your arcade, Chris?
Well, I didn't have an arcade. I mean, back in the 80s, they were everywhere. There was an arcade at the mall. My dad worked at the community college, and there was an arcade in the basement there, which was awesome. It was dark, and it had like a pole position, and it had, I think, a Black Knight. I just kind of recognized those sounds from Black Knight, I guess. But it was that nice, sleek, fast, lots of lights, lots of... Because, I mean, that was what I was into. I was into controlling the TV screen. And I was into those characters on Saturday morning cartoons like Pac-Man and Donkey Kong. And like game shows, like lots of flashy technology. So that's what my grade school brain was turned on by. So pinball was kind of like the last thing I was into in the laundry list of things I was into, but it was always there. And like I said, in college there was a pinball machine in the lobby that I constantly pour quarters into after I was done with laundry and had extra quarters left. So, but I didn't have a steady arcade because I was kind of young.
Did you have a console at that point?
In television.
Okay.
And in television, then had an NES in middle school, and then a Genesis Super NES in high school. But we never had like an arcade, arcade. There was always like one or two machines always around at like convenience stores or whatever. I didn't have like a whole, let's go to the arcade, because they were kind of seedy. Like the one I remember was at a seedy mall, and I only went there a few times.
See, growing up for me, and this is probably why I have a lot. I do remember very well like my glory days of arcades in that era. Like I wasn't around in the early 80s, completely cognizant, but mid 80s, 6, 7, I wasn't allowed to have a video game. We had an Atari when I was really young, and arcades were the place I played video games, because I wasn't allowed to have a console until the original Game Boy came out, and I was in middle school. So I didn't have anything to cut my teeth on other than arcade machines, and so that was my video game experience growing up, for the most part. Like, my formative years of video game experience were arcades. So there was an arcade in the mall. We'd go get pizza. My dad would give me, a $5 bill, and I'd go over and play arcade games until the pizza was done.
Right. There was always, like, every arcade I go to, there'd be a dozen machines or whatever. There's always be that one or two pinball machines over in the corner. Mm-hmm. They were always there, and I was always interested in them.
Well, the Springfield one that I used to go to had 2 pinball machines in the front, always. And then at one point, when they got Twilight Zone, I remember the back area of the arcade there turned into the pinball area. There were 5 or 6 pinball machines back there. Nice. And it was a really small place, so it was actually cool. And that's when I got into pinball heavily. My dad would always play those. And I don't know. I've always loved pinball, but it's not something I've actively sought out because it's always difficult to find. And difficult to find in good shape.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Yeah, a lot of places don't take care of their shit.
Right.
So,
well, it comes back down to the cost. It comes also down to the manpower. Do you think anyone at the pizza place on the corner that has that busted-ass version of, Gorgar knows how to rip the thing apart and fix the flipper? No. But people are still going to sink cash into it so they don't fix it.
Yeah. Well, like, there was the pizza place I went to, the head creature from the Black Lagoon, the right flipper's all jacked up, the machine's dirty as shit, you know what I mean? And they're not putting any work into it. I feel like it's somebody needs to fix this.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I'm like, I'll save these machines from the people that have them in their stores from the people that own them. But yeah, I don't know. I think that part of what was great about this too was being in a situation of playing like games with people that are standing.
Did you fuck anybody?
I didn't, unfortunately. People were really.
I didn't want to bug anybody that was competing.
Yeah. I would have liked to have bugged people that were competing, but I didn't want to. You know, like they're in the zone, and I don't want to mess with that.
And you know the rest of the non-competition area, it was everybody in their little cliques, either with their family or their friends. And really, I didn't get to talk. I'm not a big talker as it is. I think if Tatton would have went with us, we probably would have been talking people's ears off.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a pretty big talker. I'll be honest with you, though. I was just more like you were when you said, "Oh man, the guys that were competing seemed really upset." I didn't even pay any attention to those guys because I was like, "Oh my god, there's pinball machines in here. I need to try to play them."
There's 200 of them.
Yeah, there are so many pinball machines here right now that I want to play them right now. And fuck everybody else. Okay, you're on the machine I want to play. You're on the machine I want to play. I want to play that machine. Damn it, I'm going to go somewhere else and play something else while I wait for you to get off that machine. You know, like, there was no, like, anybody else involved in my situation there other than you guys because, of course, I, want to play them with you. But I don't. It would be a different situation, I think, if I was in a competition. You're stuck with it. I don't want to say stuck, but you're with a group of people the whole time you're in the competition that you're playing 4-player against.
But everybody was nice there. The people at the front counter were
nice. I had no issues. Like, the people were, I walked in, I was like, "Hey, do I buy tokens here?" And the girl was like, "Sure, yeah, this is where you get them." I'm like, "Can I pay for them with a card, or do I need to use an ATM?" She's like, "Oh, you can pay for them with a card." I was like, "Cool. Thank you."
Transaction
complete. You were friendly and nice, and
thank you, Drake.
And I think that the other thing too is to be into pinball and to be at a pinball show like that, you have to have some love for it. Like, it's not just something you're gonna do. What is it, like a day trip? Like, unless you like it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Who else? Like, obviously we all like pinball. We're not all. None of us are actually good at pinball.
No, but you can enjoy pinball and be horrible at it because there's still the experience of holding the pinball machine, slapping it around, hitting the flippers, and watching the pretty lights, and then having that inevitable, like, "Oh, I can't believe the machine did that," and it went down the center. That emotion from the game.
Yeah.
You just happen to have it in a very faster format than some of the better players.
Yeah. And I wish that there was, some cities are really lucky in the sense that they have places they can actually play these games at still.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Columbus is not one of them. There are a few machines scattered around Columbus, but I think it would be awesome to have a pinball league in Columbus. I know there's a Buckeye Pinball League, but I think they're more northern Ohio.
Cleveland.
Yeah. But
they have a big tournament too every year.
Do they?
But it's like in a hotel and it's kind of expensive.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was about to say, that might be worth the drive, and then the expensive part came in.
Well, it's like $80 or something.
To compete?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if I had a group of people that...
But you gotta pay for a hotel, and you gotta pay for the hotel ballroom that they're using and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, in a situation like that, though, if it's Cleveland, if it's multiple days, I mean, we know people.
Yeah, it depends what you can get out of that $80. If it's like, yeah, you don't have to pay for tokens. $80, we put them all on free play, and you just go nuts.
Yep.
And you can go nuts for 2 days. Okay, that's totally worth it. I will sign up right now.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, if we had been there for another hour, I would have been out of my $20 that I already spent on tokens. Just from sheer, like, look at all these fucking
CCAG, the video game show up in Cleveland that they do every year.
Sure.
They've always got a few arcade games and pinball machines on free play. They had like a vintage machine and an 80s machine, and they I mean, that's more of a video game show, but
sure,
that's always worth going to because everything's on free play.
Yeah.
Like the last one I went to, they had an Atari Stunt Cycle arcade game, which is incredible.
Sure, yeah, we go to PAX East every year, and they have some arcade museum shows up there, and they generally have 2 pinball machines. Like last year, it was Buck Rogers and Spy Hunter. And everything in there is on free play, and, I gravitate towards that room at least once every day to go in and play pinball because, fuck, I know I can go to Gumby's Pizza and play pinball, but,
It's bad pinball.
Well, actually, they have a Demolition Man machine, which is
okay.
okay.
Pizza, too.
It's cheap pizza. It is value pizza. Okay, it is okay for what you pay for it. I would not recommend that if you're coming in from out of town, you go eat at Gumby's Pizza when Hound Dogs is right there. However,
there's a Gumby's at every college town in this country, pretty much.
Is there really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at least back in the 90s. Maybe they've shrunk.
Yeah, I don't know. But, like, when I lived on Blake, right down from Gumby's, shit, yeah, I ordered pizza from there all the time, because it was like $5 for a pizza as big as your torso, so... but, I mean, that said, you know... I know those two pinball machines, they have the original trilogy Star Wars and Demolition Man, which are not bad machines. They used to have a Funhouse machine that was pretty beat up, but, I mean, it was a Funhouse machine.
Yeah, Funhouse is really easy to break, too, because you have moving parts that get slammed by the ball, and that's the point. You know?
Yeah, you gotta hit that dude in the face.
Yeah, you're replacing the Rudy head, like, stupid often.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's kind of sad because it's one of those things that I think that if there was a place to play it, people would play it. Or at least, you know, if you could figure out a way to make it happen to have at least 5 pinball machines in one area.
Yeah, well, GameWorks over at Easton had that at one point. But
they've reopened. What's
have
like
they really?
Yeah, well,
it's called like DNR or something stupid. I think they'll all bond it themselves.
Yeah, it's actually an investment group that is kind of sort of related to GameWorks. The same sort of investors, as I understand it. I might be talking out of my ass here, but you know, take what I say as complete hearsay and, you know, a very, very large grain of salt. But as I understand it, like, GameWorks continually goes under, and they just swoop in and buy it and leave all the games as they are. So,
do they have pinball machines there?
They did at one point. I haven't been there in literally years.
I think they had like a South Park.
Yeah, they at one point had Sopranos, they had NASCAR, they had South Park, and a couple other, like, Stern, you know.
Like the newer ones.
Yeah.
Which is fine. The newer ones are fun. They're a little janky sometimes. But...
Well, that goes into the second point. They had a section that had 5 or 6 pinball games, but only 2 of them were active at any given time because they were so hard to maintain.
Yeah.
You know, even in an arcade where, you know, you have a bunch of ticket redemption games which are meant to be robust, DDR, which gets beaten the hell out of, and a couple racing games, you know, pinball's probably the last to get...
Well, I mean, they're going to put money into what gets money put into it.
Right, so. Exactly. So, you know, pinball is one of those sort of things like, oh, hey, it's pinball. Oh, look, here's a car that's going to whip me around and throw me around for the same rough price.
Yeah. Well,
and I'm drunk as shit, so I'm going to go get whipped around by a car. This is going to be great.
Yeah. Well, I think part of the problem, too, is, like, I was talking to a kid at school, because I'm in college right now at OSU, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to a pinball tournament. I'm not going to play in it, but I'm going to play pinball machines. And he was like, pinball, isn't that a little simple? And I was like, are you fucking retarded? Like, I don't think that people understand. Like,
well, those kids grew up with video games that weren't about challenges; they were about, like, stories.
Yeah, which I don't have a problem with, obviously.
I mean, that's another whole podcast, but, you know, they don't understand it. Pong is a simple game, but it's actually competitive.
Yeah.
Super Mario 64 is just fetch quests and a beautiful story.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing is, a lot of those kids have never actually played a real pinball machine. You know what I mean? And nothing against video pinball. Video pinball is my primary source of pinball, but, like, games like Pinball FX, like Zen Pinball stuff, they're fun, and they're really good, but they're way easy compared to, like, an actual machine.
Yeah.
Like, I dare you to take one of those fucking Pinball FX, like, video pinball things and put it next to something like Twilight Zone or Addams Family or Gorgar or Black Hole or anything like that, and even find that level of challenge. It's so easy to save those balls. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, I had maybe 8 or 9 like live captures playing on the actual machines, and I was so impressed with myself I almost lost the ball.
Yeah, I mean, even just doing a stall where, you know, you hold the ball in the crook of the flipper. You activate the flipper, and the ball runs up the thing, and it rolls back down, and you can hold it and control the ball at that point.
Yeah.
I did that a couple times, and normally that's like how you should play pinball, and on video pinball, that's how I play, and it's really no big deal.
It's so easy to do on video pinball. all
Yeah,
that.
but in real life, the ball has way more momentum, and it's going up, and you're like, oh crap, and you're hitting the machine trying to like make it slow down.
Sure, yeah.
And you eventually have to go, nope, can't save it, and do a shit reaction shot.
Yep.
And it just goes somewhere, and it eventually bricks somewhere and comes back down, and then you have to deal with it again because you couldn't control it. It is really a game of skill, and it is a game that has to be played physically to truly understand and enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
with the death of the arcade, too, people are less exposed to it because of consoles, and I don't blame consoles. I love console gaming. I like computer gaming. I like all of that, but there's something lost to that, and I don't know that there's a way to fix that. I don't think that kids would go hang out in an arcade if one opened. Like, I don't know, though. You guys have been, or I don't know if Chris has been there, but I know Chris has been there. The Arcade Legends down in Cincy.
Yes.
How busy is that place when you've gone?
I haven't been to the new location yet. We hope to get the proprietor on our show some point.
Oh, nice.
They just moved to the former Cincinnati Forest Fair Mall.
Oh,
which
wow.
is awesome because if you're familiar with Forest Fair Mall, when it first opened, they had the Time Out arcade by Sega.
Yeah.
It took up the gigantic.
Dang.
Yeah, that space was where I first played Mortal Kombat, where I saw Time Traveler. It was humongous. It was incredible, and now they're in their former space. And apparently they're doing gangbuster business. So I haven't been down there yet, but I kind of want to see it. Because before it was in a business park. It was kind of like destination. When people that went there were people that were going there.
Right.
And now they've got like general public people coming in.
Well, isn't that still the same thing though? Nobody goes to the Forest Fair.
Well, they're trying to fix that.
All right. Well, they've been trying to fix that since they opened it. It kind of flopped hardcore too, didn't it?
Oh yeah.
Like, I mean,
it's been like revived several times over. But now they're putting like an ice skating rink in there and all sorts
What?
Yeah.
Well, they had laser tag there. It was the first mall I went to that had laser tag. So it was like they were almost trying to build a Mall of America. It had a Ferris wheel and all sorts of goofy.
Oh,
shit.
Time Out was.
I used to. Yeah, I remember going there. That was the first place I saw because I was a big fan of Street Fighter 2 as a kid.
Yeah.
And I walked into that arcade and they had the original Street Fighter, and I was like, what is this? This looks terrible. But that was a really nice arcade. The Dayton Mall had a really nice arcade that is, I don't know if it's still there now or not. But they had some cool stuff there too. Springfield Mall was kind of a shitty small arcade, but they had the games that mattered. And we had like a putt-putt golfing games too.
Right. Oh, putt-putt arcades were always pretty good.
Yeah, they were good. That was the place I played through and beat Gauntlet Legends in probably $100 and some worth of quarters.
Yeah.
But
you were asking about the arcade legacy. You were asking about the pinball.
Yeah.
Last time I was there, they had like 3 machines, like Doctor Who and a quiz show or game show, and something, or I can't think of the other one. They had like 3.
That's really disappointing.
That's kind of how it was in the day too.
That's true.
That arcade, their prime focus is like fighting games. They're having tournaments every weekend for like fighting game tournaments, and they sponsor people to go to tournaments.
Right. Those are nothing against anybody that plays fighting games, but those are my least favorite video game players most of the time.
Yeah, I enjoy fighting games. I just don't like playing them against other humans because they usually make me want to punch them in real life.
Well, it's a completely different mindset, and it's really awesome that they can maintain a business like that. It's good for them.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
I don't want to get out.
I don't hate those people. I just like the community is not the community that I can thrive in.
Yeah.
It just makes me angry, and because everybody's so competitive, and I'm not.
There's that whole controversy that like there was the. Fuck! I don't want to talk about it.
Fair enough.
I think we're coming up on an hour here. I think we had a good pinball talk. I don't want to get too out of focus here. Definitely going back in August. Recommend anybody that's anywhere within driving distance of Pittsburgh to come and look at the place when it's open. Being that they're only open twice a year, it's a destination, really. There's other places. I've been to the Pinball Hall of Fame in Las Vegas, extremely awesome if you're ever in Vegas. It's off the strip. It's not too far off the strip, like a mile or so. Totally worth going to. Everything's on either a quarter or 50-cent play. The atmosphere is really great. They maintain their machines well. There's the recently opened National Pinball Museum, I think, and they were in Washington, D.C. They moved to Baltimore. I can't think of any other reason to go to Maryland, really.
And I will say, my buddy Jason lives in Toronto, and they apparently just opened up a pinball cafe there. I guess they
kind of researching like board games, I think.
Yeah. And there's about 5 or 6 machines. I think Jason said they had there. There wasn't anything that like blew my mind, but it's just kind of awesome that it exists.
Yeah.
And I wish I had the money to make something like that happen.
And like I said, the VGMX stores locally in Columbus, each one has a pinball machine now. I see the enthusiasts are like, holding it up more than. Or last weekend in Milwaukee, there were the homebrew pinball tables. Ben Heck had his Bill Paxton pinball, and there were some other homebrew pinball machines.
That was pretty hilarious.
Yeah,
I wish I had been there to play Bill Paxton pinball.
It's Chet, not Chip.
That's pretty spectacular.
Yeah. So they'll be back in a few months, and we'll keep playing pinball, kids. We'll see you guys later.
Peace.
Now you're playing with podcast.
Hey listeners, this is Tatton. Just wanted to take a quick moment and let you know that there's lots of great places you can follow Now You're Playing With Podcast. We have a Facebook page set up, which is Now You're Playing With Fan Page. We have a Twitter account set up, which is NYPW Tweets, or Now You're Playing With Tweets. And, of course, all of the episodes are available for download from NowYou'rePlayingWith.com. So we hope you enjoyed the show. If you like it, please take a moment and send us a message. Let us know what you think about it. And we hope to have some more shows coming for you soon. Until then, thanks for listening.
Now you're playing with podcast.